Good morning. This is the Blaineswell show, heard every so often on a whole bunch of outlets. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, you can find us. You can also find us at my website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on different people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country who are making a difference, especially. And one of those people who is making a difference is Beth Russo, who's Executive Director at Eblen Charities. And thanks for being my guest today, Beth.
Thanks for having me, Blaine.
Okay, and what you can do, you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching you. That is Beth Russo. And Beth Russo is Executive Director at Eblen Charities, and she has a double master's in counseling and education, and she is a longtime fundraising professional and advocate for affordable housing and better living conditions for individuals in need, education, children's well-being, women's rights, and protecting our environment. She's been part of the Western North Carolina community since 1999. She's a former Wilderness Leadership College assistant professor and amateur herbalist. She serves on the board of the Franklin School of Innovation and lives with her husband, two teenage boys, two cats, and a husky dog in the mountains of Asheville. Everybody gets along?
Everybody gets along surprisingly well.
Okay, including,
Cats and
and
dogs are friends at my house.
I was going to say that, are they get along, the cats and dogs? Because Cynthia, what I call my beautiful bride, always talks about getting a dog, but I think one cat's enough for us. So I didn't want to mix the combination. So Beth, you and I were talking off the air. I guess you've been just a little bit busy lately as a result of the hurricane.
You are very right. After our initial response, which, like everybody in the community, our communications were down. We didn't know what was going on. We were trying to get in touch with our staff and volunteers. And once we were able to reestablish connection to make sure that we had all survived this experience, we rapidly pivoted. We opened about a week later with limited hours and ran a free store for the community. We gave away thousands of coats and blankets, diapers, hygiene items, cleaning supplies, dog food, you name it, we had it. And we made sure that the community had it as well. We also, for the first few weeks after the storm, anybody with a local ID that had been hurt by the hurricane, which was almost everybody we knew, could come to our office and get a gasoline voucher. And so in 3 weeks, we provided 804 families with gasoline assistance to help people get to appointments, pick up groceries, run a generator, that kind of thing. And then once we were back in the office normally, of course, as you might imagine, the phone started ringing off the hook. People started lining up to come and get help for rent, for mortgages, for utilities, for help with some of the displacement that they've had. And, we are seeing a huge uptick in the number of people who are coming to us for rental and mortgage assistance. Yesterday, November 6th, we had 57 new applications in the course of a single day. And that's very much on trend with what we've seen in the community over the last, has it only been 5 weeks? It seems like 5 years, but I'm pretty sure it's only been
Isn't
about
yeah.
5 weeks.
And it seems, like you and I might think that we're back to normal, but unfortunately a lot of people aren't, and it's they need the help, they need the assistance. And the timing of this, Beth, timing is never good, but especially for you folks, two things I'm thinking about. Number one, in a way, it's good you're in your facility where you are now, so you've been there a couple of years. How has that made a difference for you?
Last year, we moved from Westgate, where we had been for something like 14 years, to a location that is just down the hill from Mission Hospital. One, I think our location at Mission Hospital was part of why our communications were reinstated pretty quickly. I had been planning on a Starlink, and then we had Spectrum get those services back online, which was key for us for both email and phone services. Our location is much more walkable for community members in Asheville. We are close to several public housing communities, several historic legacy neighborhoods, and then we are much more accessible by public transportation. So I think that was just a good timing that was lucky to have moved here last year and got ourselves settled. Part of the reason we moved to this building is it has a warehouse that's attached to the office that allows us to run our giveaway events. And so we were, like I said, able to pretty much pivot to getting all these essential supplies out to our community um, within really about a week. That's not, we don't normally run a free store. We don't normally provide diapers or dog food, but because we had staff and volunteers who were ready to go with a space that was suitable for it and in a location that was accessible to people, I think it helped us respond to people in the community, especially for folks who, like I said, they couldn't email, they couldn't call. So the word of mouth information was really where people got information for a while. And so I think that helped us be available for people who needed us in the community.
And also, I'm thinking about the timing of this, as timing is always everything, that this couldn't have come at it turns out probably a busier time for you then, because not only do you have the dealing with the hurricane, but you're right in the middle now of getting ready for Christmas, right? Or Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever. And that's typically a busy time for you.
Every year we give away in partnership with Ingles Markets and iHeartMedia, Duke Energy, and Pratt and Whitney. We give away 800 full Thanksgiving meals, a turkey, uncooked turkey, I should say, in a box of size. And we posted signups for that on Friday, and we're full by yesterday. Normally, it takes a couple weeks for us to fill 800 spots for turkey. So we are right in the middle of that. We are also right in the middle of collecting toys, teenage items, books for our St. Nicholas toy store, which opens on December 10th. That's intended to serve kids from infants to 18-year-olds to make sure that they have a holiday gift. It could be a Christmas gift, a Hanukkah gift, or no holiday at all, but so that they get to participate in that sort of normal American experience where you have a tree or you have a menorah and you pick out and open up gifts. So last year we had 3,100 children, actually a little over 3,152 children were served through that project. I expect that to be much higher this year. And so we are busy both trying to make sure that we're taking care of people's rents and utilities, but also trying to make sure that we find venues for people to be able to celebrate and join together and to have some sweetness in this really hard and difficult time.
Beth, if you would talk about both those events, as you mentioned. So Thanksgiving obviously is coming up. What does somebody have to do if they want to participate in it or get one of these boxes, as you said?
Well, right now we already have a waiting list for holiday meals. Like I said, we put it up on our website, and 5 minutes after getting that up on our website, we already had 57 people sign up. People are worrying about their holiday meal. And I think for all of us, things have been so tenuous lately that they're trying to make sure that they get the resources they need so they can sign up on our waiting list for meals. But we ordered the turkeys quite a while ago, and I'm not sure whether we'd be able to order additional at this point. Um, so that's one thing. If people want to participate in helping us distribute these turkeys, we'll do it in a drive-through format. And we have a volunteer coordinator. Her name is Jennifer Addis that helps plug in people to the spots if they want to help. If they want to help with the upcoming holidays and to make sure that kids in our community, like I said, whether they're a baby or a teenager, have something to open up, they can either help collect items. Those include things like games and sports equipment and makeup kits and LED lights for teenagers and Play-Doh stations for little kids. They can donate money to the St. Nicholas Toy Store, and we'll use those funds to buy additional items. And then again, they can help volunteer at this event. Every year, both the Thanksgiving event and the holiday gift store fill my gas tank. I mean, it's a lot of joy. It's a lot of generosity from people who are able to help. It's a lot of gratitude from people who are able to receive, who need to receive the help. And I'm glad we already do this because it for us as staff who've also been affected by the storm, our volunteers as well, it gives us something joyful to participate in while we're also doing the harder work of listening to people's trauma and crisis stories and trying to respond to their needs as well.
If somebody's watching this or listening to it and they want to volunteer, Beth, what do they do?
The easiest way for them to volunteer with us is to reach out to Jennifer Addis. You can either call us at 828-255-3066 and ask to speak to the volunteer coordinator, or they can email her directly at JADDIS, that's jaddis at eblencharities.org.
Now, have you mentioned both of those, especially the phone number? The phone number is what?
828-255-3066. And I want to mention our website as well, because if you're a family looking for gifts for your kids this holiday season, that's where you're going to go to sign up. EblenCharities.org. That's EBLEN charities.org. Our St. Nicholas Toy Store sign up basically allows parents and guardians to choose a shopping time. Everything in the store is new. It's unwrapped. It's meant so that the parent or the guardian gets to have the dignity and the joy of selecting a gift for their own child. And when they check out, we send them with stocking stuffers, a new book that's age appropriate, and a candy for stockings as well.
Now, where's the store located?
Our Eblen store is located at our offices,
Oh,
which is
is
at
it?
23 Hamilton Street.
Okay. And now, so if people want to come to it, do they have to sign up for that as well?
To have a gift, yes, absolutely. So they can go to our website, eblencharities.org, hit the button to sign up for the St. Nicholas Project. It will give a calendar that shows dates and shopping times. I think we have 2 evenings set up as well. And they just basically find a time that works for their schedule, sign up for it, and then show up on that day and shop for the items.
Now, a recommendation, if you would, if folks want to come by and shop, they should leave the kids at home or they shouldn't bring the kids with them.
We always talk about this. It's a safer environment for kids to stay at home, but I'm a mom, and I know what many years I didn't have childcare for everything I wanted to do. So we often see kids, especially really little kids who might not remember it.
Right.
We just ask that parents or guardians have control of them. It is a warehouse. It's not a retail store. It is volunteer and staff run, but we are not professional retailers. And so that said, so we encourage kids to stay at home. If they come, they are welcome, and it does make us happy to see all these cute little kids with Christmas colorful lights reflected in their big, joyful eyes too.
The only thing I'm thinking, it's too bad though, they'll see what they're getting. It's kind of nice if they're home, so it's kind of a surprise for you. The when people come there, so kind of exciting thing, and so they leave with a gift. It's an unwrapped gift. They have to wrap it themselves.
We generally provide wrapping paper and bags as well.
Okay. And so when you have the volunteers are doing what?
Gosh, it's a pretty fun volunteer job. You check in folks and kind of orient them to what the process is like. We literally say, oh, you got 3 kids. Okay, this is how it's laid out. Here's a shopping cart. We have volunteers that are kind of behind the scenes that are busy continuing to replenish the stock on the floor. One of the things I like to tell folks is that folks imagine that they need to sign up early to get the best stuff. We replenish all throughout the store. There's always good stuff in there. Volunteers answer questions. They might help. One of the things we also try to do is to generally get an idea of the value of the gifts so that there's similarly, so there's equity in the way we give it. So like one family might get a bike for their kid. The bike is the gift, but other people might select lesser valued items, and so we can bundle them. And it's not a perfect system, but it's intended to create some equity amongst the gifts that are going out. So we have volunteers that are busy like checking values. They are trying to sort them. And then we check folks out, and folks can greet, they can check folks out, they can help restock the stores, they can answer questions. Usually we see a lot of families that come and volunteer with their teenage children, especially parents who want to teach their children that being generous is an important part of being an adult in our community. And so we see a lot of parents bring their kids to come and help facilitate this store.
How long does it run through?
It will open December 10th, which is a Tuesday,
Right.
and it will close, I think, 11 a.m. on Friday, December 20th.
Okay. So plenty of opportunities if people want to sign up, though.
Absolutely.
If folks sign up for it, so again, best bet to sign up for it is go to the website. Okay.
BLAINESWORLD and click on the St. Nicholas icon.
And they get a time that when they want to come. Okay.
Mhm.
Is in terms of signing up, are there any requirements that folks have to do? Do they have to show any financial need or any other?
We just ask that we do have sometimes the situation where like a parent will come and then like the other grandparents will try to come to shop for the same child. We try to make sure that it's really one shopping one shopper per child so that there's enough to go out throughout the community. So we do ask usually just an ID and some sort of verification that they have children. We don't do any ID requirements. They don't have to be a legal citizen. People always ask, well, if I'm in Madison County, can I come? Yeah, absolutely. We want to help people in Western North Carolina. It will mostly be people from Buncombe County, especially this year, just given where we are, but we want to help people in Western North Carolina. Trying to think what else might be. Yeah, the main issue for us is we're just trying to have the shoppers understand that we're trying to make sure that all children get a wonderful holiday, not just their child. And so to ensure that there's not multiple people shopping for the same child, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense.
And one of the things I always admired about Eblen is the fact that it is relatively friendly and easy to deal with. In other words, no offense to some other governmental agencies or that you have to go through the hoops. With Eblen, I guess you take for the most part, you take people at their word.
Try really hard. I mean, no system is perfect. And I'm of the belief that if we serve 99% of the people who quote unquote needed the help and 1% is a grifter that slips in, that's on the 1% person. We're trying very hard to make sure that services are accessible. One of the things we always do in general, with our rent and mortgage assistance is a little more digging in. We get some documentation. We want to make sure we're not paying people who aren't true landlords. We want to make sure that we are paying people. Yesterday I had a lady in South Carolina get very angry with me because we don't pay for rents outside of the region. So we try as much as possible to make it accessible and easy for people to apply for help while still being accountable to other entities for that help. One of the things that we've done in the last 30 days is change some of the processes for people to apply for rent and mortgage assistance, partially because we know that people lost everything and they can't even, if I asked you to get a copy of your lease, it's one thing if your apartment is still standing and you just lost work, and it's another thing if your apartment was washed away in the flood. So we've been trying to adapt as rapidly as possible to make our services friendlier and easier for people to access.
And talk
But I
about Beth.
agree. I like that about us as well.
No, I always did. It's you're there to serve people, and I guess your point was well taken. That if they want to try to beat the system, you can't. It's on them. But a great point. Talk about that service also as well. So aside from the Thanksgiving, the Christmas, year round, you have the rent assistance, right? And the helping people. What does that entail?
Gosh, well, so our regular, like if we don't have a hurricane and we don't have holidays, year round, we help people with back due rents and mortgages. Last year, we had helped 860 local families avoid eviction and or foreclosure. So that's kind of part of our normal work. That is increasing a lot right now. But in fact, for perspective, in the last month, we got more applications for housing assistance than we did the whole rest of the year. We help with essential utilities. Essential utilities are electricity and water. Last year, the low income energy assistance program returned to the county, and that energy assistance is also tied to heating sources. So we do much less heating assistance than we used to, but we are helping a lot of folks with keeping their water running and their electricity on. We help people with medical needs, and those are a little bit more case by case. So examples are we've paid for co-pays for procedures. An example within the last year is a gentleman who failed his driver's test because his cataracts had gotten so bad, and he was the primary caretaker for his disabled wife. And so when he couldn't drive, it meant he couldn't do all the other things that their family needed for her. He had insurance, but he couldn't save the copay. So we paid $700 for him to have both cataracts removed from his eyes. 4 weeks later, he was driving, able to go back to caring for his wife. And so that's an example of the kind of things we help with. Prescription medication costs. We do a lot of eye exams and eyeglasses, and I want to mention that right now as well, as I know a lot of people, I wear contact lenses and I'm legally blind without them. And I know how I would feel if I didn't have my contacts or glasses right now. So we help folks with a check to go to Stanton Optical to get an eye exam and to pick a pair of glasses out for themselves or their child. That's a pretty big part of our work. We provide gasoline vouchers for folks. As I mentioned earlier, in the last month, we provided 804 families with gasoline assistance, and that was for anybody with a local ID. We now have returned to our kind of quote unquote normal policies as we provide gasoline assistance for people who are going to medical appointments or to job interviews, or if they get hired and they need a little help to their first paycheck. So we've kind of returned back to that before hurricane practice. We help with shoes and clothing for school-age children. Last year, we helped more than 830 kids have shoes and clothing to go to school with, or to live their lives with. We provide school supplies for kids in our community. This year, I forget the number, but last year we provided school supplies for 655 children. That includes backpacks and pens and paper and that kind of thing. So a lot of the work we do is meant to stop a crisis from turning into a catastrophe, or to help people access resources like school supplies or clothing that they need to participate in normal American life.
One of the things I always loved about Eblen Charities is the fact that, I know you might call it a one-stop shopping place to go to, because I've seen you help people who have no other place to go to or no idea what to do. In other words, you mentioned just some of the things, Beth, that you folks are doing, and there are so many different components, but you seem to cover almost all of them. In other words, like a lot of nonprofits, a lot of governmental agencies will help with one specific thing, but I've seen you help folks who have no place else to go, or they don't know where to go. I mean, that's a big problem too. I guess a lot of people are just so overwhelmed that they don't know where to begin. And
Yeah.
so you invite them to come to you.
Absolutely. And the other thing we try to do is whenever people are coming to us, if we're not the solution for what their problem
Right.
is try to give them resources of where to go. Because I think you're right. I, I don't know how many are now, but I remember last year seeing a statistic. There was something like 1,700 nonprofits in Buncombe County. If
Oh,
you're in
wow.
crisis, where do you start? If English is not your first language, it's even harder. If your work schedule is rigid, it's harder. So we try to make sure that we can offer a solution or a resource or both. The other thing we try to do a lot of is work with other nonprofit agencies or faith-based agencies to solve problems. So, we frequently might say this person comes to us and they have a $2,000 outstanding rent bill. We might put $1,500 towards it, and a couple of other charities, including St. Vincent's de Paul or ABCCM, or Homeward Bound, will put funds together to fully solve the problem for the client that's presenting to us. We again do, and not only just for our people and right here in West North Carolina, we get calls from all over the country where people find us, like what our services are, then try to figure out how they can get that same thing in like Arizona or wherever they happen to live at. And you know, that's a challenge. I think one of the things that we've had in our communities too is this, a focus on mission, which makes sense, right? If you're a housing organization, you need to focus on housing. If you're a food organization, you need to focus on food. We're a crisis response organization, so it gives us a lot of flexibility in how we choose to respond to the crises that present to us.
How many folks do you have working for you?
Well, right now we have 5 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff. We are adding 3 more caseworkers. We're going to increase our staff by about 42% in the next couple of weeks so that we can respond to the crisis that our communities experienced. We also have a really small but dedicated core of volunteers that help us as well. So right now, you probably hear a lot of background noise. There's at least 3 volunteers that are busy answering the phone. We have folks that are answering the door. We have folks in our warehouse that are sorting. So that combination of dedicated volunteers and our hardworking team is what we're doing right now. But like I said, we're adding caseworkers because we know that if you get 50 applications of rent for just in one day, we can't turn it around fast enough. And so we have to add staff to make sure that we can respond in a more timely way.
And if anybody wants to volunteer, age range of volunteers, in other words, um,
Gosh, we have 14-year-old
oh, do
volunteers that
you?
come in and help in our warehouse. I think our oldest volunteers are probably approaching late 70s. if you are, there's a lot of ways to get plugged in. And like I said, you might just want to come for a couple of shifts at the St. Nicholas Toy Store or to help us sort things in a warehouse. That's fine. You might want to have an ongoing volunteer commitment. And like I said, we have got a great group of folks in the office that come here and help us answer phones and make copies and do all the things that need to happen in order to keep our work rolling around. So that's a little bit more of an ongoing role. But both of those we love good volunteers.
And lastly, Beth, if somehow or not somehow we will get through this season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the rest of the year, what do you folks do?
So like I said, rent, we pay rents and mortgages, medical needs. We address essential utilities. Oh, I forgot to mention, we do prom dresses and
Oh
formal
yeah, that
clothing for kids going
another great
to
event. Yeah.
weddings. And so that, what we're going to do is on December 20th, we're going to close our office. We're going to lock the door in the warehouse. Every toy is going to be out in the community, and our team's going to take a break, and we're going to return on January 2nd. It's been an exhausting year, and we're not done with it yet. So when we come back in January, what we'll be doing is focusing on rents and mortgages and essential utilities. And then we'll be also gearing up for our formal giveaway, our clothing giveaways, because I think April's when the prom is for most people. And so in March, we're going to have turned that warehouse around into our prom dress express.
Okay, love it. Beth, again, if so folks want to get in touch with you, best bet is to go to the website, I guess, get initial information. So if you would repeat that and also the phone number.
Absolutely. So Eblen Charities, you can reach us by telephone 828-255-3066. We are experiencing a very high volume of calls, but that's the number 828-255-3066. If you'd like to go to our website, eblencharities.org, Eblen is how you spell Eblen. And lastly, we have both an Instagram and Facebook account. And so we do a lot of updates on social media as well. And you should be able to find both of those by searching Eblen Charities, either in Instagram or Facebook
Okay.
search bars.
Thank you, Beth Russo, for being my guest on this edition of the Blaine's World show. Also, thank you and Evelyn for all the great work you do in the community. And hopefully we'll bump into each other in person sometime, not too far down the road. You be well, Beth.
Thank you, Blaine.
And also, let me thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti, and we'll see you whenever we next see you on our show. See you.